everybody. Welcome into MedStar Capitals Iceplex. Tarek El-Bashir, I'm Katie Florio here with a special goaltenders edition of Rink Report. Tarek, you would think one position, not a lot to talk about, but you don't realize how much goes into it. Had a great chat with Scott Murray, Logan Thompson coming on the show later on, and that was a lot of good insight.
It was, and when we talk about goaltending in hockey, I mean, look, it's important to score goals. You got to play with some structure. You got to be good defensively. But if you want to see the teams that go the furthest in the playoffs and the ones that have coaches that stick around for a long time, look at the teams that have good goaltending. And the Capitals are very, very fortunate here in D.C. to have a number 1A who right now is at the top of the league in almost every category, Logan Thompson. And then Charlie Lindgren, yeah, he had the one start where he gave a lot of goals. But in general, he's considered one of the best 1Bs in the game. So to have those two guys kind of pushing each other as well, that bodes really well for this Capitals team.
We'll get down to the specifics of both Thompson and Lindgren, but big picture here first, Tara. Capitals 6-3 to start the year. Yeah, like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I think you could describe the players playing in front of the goaltending, maybe the goaltending as well. But all in all, what has been your overall takes of what we have seen on the ice through these first 8 games?
A little Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is hard to figure out what you're going to see from this Capitals team night to night because they've won some games where they probably didn't get off to a great start and might have benefited from some puck luck. They've also throttled some teams where they've looked like, oh, this is a juggernaut. This team might be going really far. And then they've had some games where it was like, what just happened? How did they lose 7-1 to the Ottawa Senators? Look, fans hate this excuse, and I don't want to make excuses or give the Capitals players an out, but it's real life. When you're playing a team that's younger and faster, and they're in D.C. waiting in their hotel, and you're playing a game in the middle of the country in Columbus, and then flying back overnight, there's a good chance that things are not going to go that well for you. You need to get off to a strong start and really, put it to the opponent when they have more rest. They didn't do that, and we saw the result.
Yeah, and in that game, Charlie suffers a loss now 1-2 on the season. Yeah, you see it on paper, but you got to feel for him because there's 2 games now where no, he wasn't great, but at the same time,
didn't get a lot of help.
He got no help in front of him.
Yeah, and you watch him struggling, not just him, but just with what was going on in the game the other night, and you're like, well, do you go back to Logan? Well, Logan just played the previous night. Like, sometimes as a backup goaltender, not only is it your job to take the extra work and practice, sometimes when the team isn't good in front of you, you just got to wear it. You just got to there was no bringing in Logan Thompson for that game. That was just going to be Charlie doing the best he could with a team that looked like it was skating in quicksand in front of him. And unfortunately for him, I'm sure he hates his save percentage at the moment.
And you could see the frustration from Lindgren, rightfully so. But even in that game, you see Logan on the bench and at whistles, timeouts, he's still talking to Charlie, still encouraging him, I'm sure. And that's where I want to go with that, Dark, is now they're in their second year together.
Yeah.
They always tell us that they have a great relationship. We can see it on a daily basis. But all in all, you got to think that has to help both of them. As Charlie once put it, iron sharpens iron. So there's a sense of still competitiveness between the two of them, but also friendship and wanting to make each other better.
And that's really important. No one wants to go to a workplace and have a lot of stress with a coworker, especially one who's in your very small department. I mean, here in D.C., it's a 3-person department, right? It's Logan, Charlie, and Scott Murray. I mean, that's it. So it's important to have a good relationship, but I think it's also, Katie, equally important to have 2 really good goalies who can push each other. Because look, Logan's played outstanding to this point, but if his game starts to slip a little bit, in the back of his mind, he knows that there is a quality netminder behind him who, if he has a good run, it might be a little bit before I get my net back. So, having those internal dynamics, especially when it's a friendly competition like it is here in D.C., that's just really, really good for the entire team because, I mean, I've said it a million times and I'll say it again. I can't think of another sport where one player has such an outsized role on determining whether you win or lose, whether you go to the playoffs, whether you get far in the playoffs, than goaltender in hockey. Ask Bruce Boudreau, any coach. The first coaches that get fired, the first thing you look at is team save percentage. when the goalies are good, you go far. When the goalies are bad, people get fired.
Well, in his second year as a Capital, Logan Thompson impressing once again, 5-1 off the start. Like you mentioned, all of his statistics, top of the NHL. So
Unreal.
Once again, got to like what you're seeing from LT.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I feel like last year when the Capitals were at their best, early on, even when Ovi was out in the middle of the season, Logan Thompson was at the top of the league or right there in goals against average, in save percentage, in saves above expected, even in shutouts at one point. And I feel like the second half of the season was good, but not quite as sharp as the first half. And I feel like what we're getting right now is first half of last year, Logan Thompson. Hopefully he has found a way to kind of make sure he's able to carry that level consistently all the way to the end, because if this is the Logan Thompson we get in the playoffs,
watch out.
Might be here a while.
Well, you can tell he's confident, he's locked in, and I had the chance to catch up with him in the locker room. Well, Logan, thanks for joining Rink Report today. Another strong start to the season for you. All your numbers in the top 5 in the league. How would you assess your start to year 2 as a Capital so far?
It's been good so far. Obviously we're 6 games into it. Just want to keep building every game, and it's been good. I think every game, credit to the guys in front of me. They've made my life pretty easy. So not many games with a lot of high quality shots. So credit to the guys in front of me, and just want to keep building.
Been established that you're the starter this year as opposed to more of an even rotation last season. How does your approach with that change, if at all?
It doesn't change anything. Like last year, I just wanted to do my job when my number was called, and that's the same thing this year. Whether it's getting a couple games in a row, I just want to do my job and do my part, or a couple days off, just being ready to go whenever Carbs calls me.
There's been several games this year where you've mentioned some theatrics from your best friend right here, where you have mentioned that the shots you faced have been kind of low, and you don't like that. You like to see a lot of shots early on. Why is that the case?
I just like to get into it early. I think when you're seeing high-quality shots and they're hitting you and you're saving them, you definitely feel good and you can build off that. Games when I get a lot of action and you're kind of standing around it definitely makes things a little more difficult, and it's tough to get into. So I think I'm a guy who thrives off maybe more pressure and more shots on net, and so luckily Columbus, I got a little more opportunity to do that, but every other game's been credit to the guys in front of me.
You've always had a strong relationship with Charlie. In the games where you are backing up, how much communication is there with him, whether it's whistles, timeouts, things like that?
There's a lot. It's been good with Charlie. We work really well together. We work off each other really well as well, or together as well. So he's a guy. He's older. He's been around the league, and so he's someone that I can always ask for advice from. I always like to chat with on the bench. And when he's playing, I want to be there for him. And if he has any questions, just give him my insight. But overall, I think we work well together and we push each other, and just a good teammate and good friend.
Last one for you, another new mask. We know you love your masks. That one's been blowing up on social media. What's with the message behind some of the guys on it and the meaning behind this one?
Yeah, well, last year is obviously the 50th anniversary, and this year being year 51, just wanted to have a little tribute to some iconic players who've played here. Obviously, there's been so many. I could have added a lot more, and then throw Tom on the back plate. He was being a little bit of a smartass and with the Instagram comments saying he wanted to be on a mask, so he made it. So it's just a lot of fun, and I love the group here and my teammates. So unfortunately, I couldn't put them all on the mask.
Well, great stuff in the room from Logan Thompson, but now even more insight into this position. We are pleased to welcome goaltending coach Scott Murray to the table. Scott, it's great to talk to you. First time we've had an assistant coach in a while.
Great to talk to you. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, take us through big picture, day in the life for you. We see you out here every day, but obviously there is so much more that goes into your role that fans, even us as media, don't see behind the scenes. So take us through what a day in your life as goaltending coach with the Capitals is.
I mean, obviously, as time has gone along here in hockey, video is obviously a huge part of what we do, assistant coaches and goalie coach. And so definitely reviewing video from our goalies, whether it's practice video or game video, that's a massive part now. Pre-scouting the goaltender that we are playing, or the goaltenders that we are playing, that's another massive piece to what we do, is to try to figure out how to exploit the weaknesses of the other goalies. Sure. So video is obviously a huge part. You're in discussions with the coaches on the connection between what we're doing as a team and how the goalies fit in. You got some psychology work too in there, and then obviously drills and how do we put together the plan to make them better and attack some of the things that we need to attack.
You talk about psychology. I just had a quick conversation in the room with Charlie Lindgren. And, we were talking about the last game where he gave up 7 goals, and I told him we were talking to you, and he goes, yeah, he's part coach, part shrink. He says, he kind of keeps me grounded. Talk about what you would say to a goalie who's had a rough night, whether it was who played, what happened in front of him or just had a rough night. How do you kind of keep that confidence level up for them?
Well, I think the first thing is you try to get them in an unemotional state, because obviously these guys are competitive guys, and both of our guys have fire, and they want to put their best foot forward to try to help the team win. So,
right.
You have the odd conversation after the game when it doesn't go well to try to, if they want to vent, you're kind of an ear to bend. But in all reality, the most productive conversations are when that emotion is left, and now you can talk about the true picture. And a lot of times it's not as good or bad as you think it is, and taking a step back and giving yourself some time. So that's definitely a big part is waiting for that emotion to go, and then just trying to lay out a clear picture from a point of where there's not as much emotion involved.
Yeah.
And so that's key is finding the right timing to speak on those games for sure.
Yeah.
Looking at the tandem you have here with Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren, 2 really good guys, but they definitely have different personalities, different dynamics. And so for you, who knows them better than anyone, how do you balance 2 guys that seem to have a really good relationship, but also different people at the same time?
Yeah, and I think that's key is obviously they got a good relationship and they respect each other for what they do, and they definitely don't approach it always the same way, but there's a respect level from both of them. And so they've got a great relationship and a great partnership. And a lot of it, and the one thing with goalie coaching, we only have 2 guys, right?
Yeah.
So whereas the coaches have, whether it's 7, 8D or 12 to 14 forwards, we're really close with those 2 guys, and it's a small department. And so the biggest thing right away is to earn their trust, but also get to know them as people and as athletes, and kind of what makes them tick. So trying to figure out those different things that make LT tick, that make Chucky tick, and getting to know who they are and where they come from is also a big part of that, because then you can kind of understand how they're going to react to certain situations.
How fortunate do you guys feel to have a 1A and a 1B? I feel like there's some internal competition between those 2 guys. They both want the net. I mean, we know Logan's the number 1, and we know Charlie's going to get a lot of the backup assignments, but I'm sure, Charlie wants to play as much as he can.
No doubt. And I mean, it's a scenario where, and Chucky said it before, he said iron sharpens iron, and that's kind of the scenario here where there's some scenarios where you got the older, more experienced guy and the younger guy that's kind of working himself in the league, and there's a mentorship. It's a little different scenario. We know Chucky's been the guy here. LT had a really good year last year. They both want to play, and I think it's a good setup for both of them, that the best way to get the most out of each other is to really push each other and find a way to get results, and so far it's worked well because there's a respect for amongst them for each other, and I think that's helped a lot.
Going back to your off-ice coaching, as a professional athlete, there's a lot of pressure, but as a goaltender, there's even more. I feel like it's a position where you ride the highs, but you also ride the lows. So what can you do to keep whoever it is sort of grounded and just in a good mental state to come out and be able to perform in such a high-pressure situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, there's pressure in different positions. We just, before it used to be the fear of getting hit with a puck in the face. We don't have that fear anymore. So it's that you're the last line of defense, and either stays out or it goes in. And so there's some pressure and a different mindset that it takes. But I just think the day-to-day focus on the controllables, especially in net, because you can ride those emotions, and confidence is a huge thing. And staying in the moment is a big part of that confidence. If you start to worry about what happened before, what might happen, especially in net.
It's so mental nowadays.
Yeah, it can get away from you. So just kind of focusing on that day to day and the process of what makes them good, and knowing what their strengths are and playing to those strengths, and obviously working on stuff, when they feel it's slipped, and then working on that and having that be the forefront as their process versus the results.
I've got a philosophical question for you. I know you're a sports guy. I always tell people I don't think any position in pro sports has evolved as much or as quickly as goaltender in hockey. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean I think, and I'm just, in my opinion, just the evolution of the position and the coaching. Before it was, hey, you can't skate very well, you're playing net, and you just stop the puck.
Yeah.
And then, as time went on, you could really see a push for coaching. And I think goaltending got ahead of the shooters for a bit, because there was so much coaching. And I think what coaches did is, even though there's the gameplay part of it for goalies, they also kind of reinforced the technique throughout the year. Whereas I think the players just, they worked in the summer, but then when they got to their team, it was just team structure, and let's focus on, positionally, where do I need to be? And I think some of their skills maybe through the year didn't get the maintenance that was required, and that the goalies were getting. So I think they kind of jumped ahead. But now there's a big, obviously, shift in the skill development and having those guys around. So now it's pushed back for sure, and offense is pushed back. So we've had to evolve, we've had to change, we've had to adjust, because I think they've really put a push on that.
Can I jump in with one more philosophical question? When you guys look at the schedule, when it comes out and you're trying to figure out who is going to play where, how much do you factor in a goalie's performance against an opponent, and even in a building? How much do you look at those numbers when you try to figure out who's going to go?
I think last year, we rolled it. LT was playing one night, Checky was playing the next night. We haven't looked too much into that, just because I think both of our guys have been put in positions already in their career where they've had to play in those buildings, in those tough games.
So then how do you do it? How do you decide at the start of the year? I'm sure you go in with an idea of what that split's going to look like. How do you and Coach Carberry and everyone get on the same page there?
Well, I think last year was just, we're rolling these guys, and obviously it was working. It kind of worked itself out.
Sure, it did.
And normally what happens is there's, a guy that really asserts himself. And that's what happened last year, is LT really asserted himself and started to get some more games down the road. This year, I think it's been, hey, LT really, put his best foot forward last year, and then into the playoffs. He's going to get some looks early here, but we're not waiting long to get Chucky in, because we know what he can do, and he's also been in that position where we've had to ride him and jump on his back to get into the playoffs. So I think for this year, it's, LT's getting some extra games based on what he earned last year. He's got to continue to earn that, but Chucky's right there, and obviously we're not afraid to go to Chucky at any point, or LT at any point. And that's a nice luxury that we
Absolutely.
have.
You mentioned continuing to earn that. These guys are never going to get complacent, but when you look at this time last year as opposed to now, they both signed extensions in year pretty close together. And so is there maybe, I don't know if sense of relief is the word, but a little different feeling into this year, knowing, okay, Washington is at least going to be home for a few more years for both of us?
I think in life, anytime stability, especially in this industry, there's obviously that, you get a little breath of fresh air there when these guys both have LT's got a wife, and Chucky's now got a young baby. Just to have that stability, I think for anybody in any part of life
of course,
is obviously a sense of relief. But I think, they know, and they've been in our organization, and LT, even though he wasn't in our organization for a bit, he knows our organization, that, we've allowed guys to earn their opportunities, and we've given them that chance to control their own destiny, and if they do, they get rewarded for it. And so for sure there's, in life, there's a sense of fresh air for them to know that, they've got that out of the way, but they also know that they have to continue to earn their rewards.
Well, one more from me. I want to ask about Logan Thompson, because you mentioned at the top, it's really important for the goaltending coach to kind of ascertain, get a feel for what makes a guy tick. What makes Logan Thompson tick?
He absolutely loves hockey. And I think both of our guys are gamers. You know, they didn't grow up in the traditional, I guess the modern traditional sense of, you know, goalie school, do this, do every move technically correct.
Yeah.
They grew up in playing hockey
Yeah.
and trying to find a way to
Keep
stop
the puck
puck
out of the net.
and it
The
wasn't
basics.
it wasn't necessarily I gotta look this way, I gotta stop the puck was their mindset. But I think for LT, I mean, he loves the game of hockey, and I think just, you know, the ability to go out there and make saves and
Yeah.
win hockey
He's
games.
competitive.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
very competitive.
Yeah.
And he absolutely loves the game.
Yeah.
Scott, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great
Sensei
stuff,
has
man.
been wonderful. Really appreciate it. And thank you all for tuning in at home to this special edition of Goaltender Rink Report.